We all want our students to be great readers, right? But what does that actually mean? It's way more than just being able to read the words on a page. It's about digging in, getting your hands dirty, and really making meaning. So today, we're going to break down a standard that's all about that, the very core of what real comprehension is.
I mean, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? If our students are just, calling out words, we've missed the entire point. The real goal is to get them engaging, thinking, and building their own understanding from the text. So the big question is, how do we get them to stop being passive word callers and start being active meaning makers? And you know what's great? The standard gives us this super simple but really powerful framework to do just that. Everything, and I mean everything, we do to help with comprehension falls into one of these three buckets: before, during, and after. And listen, this isn't just some checklist to get through. It's actually how our brains work. It primes the brain for what's coming, keeps it locked in while it's happening, and then helps lock in the learning afterwards. It is literally the engine of making meaning. Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start with the why behind all this. Then we'll break down the what of the standard. After that, we'll get into the how, with a toolkit and a full lesson example. And finally, we'll wrap it all up. All right, first up, the big picture. Why is this so important that there's a whole standard for it? Well, it's pretty simple, really. We're not just trying to create kids who can read. We're trying to cultivate kids who can think. So here's the standard word for word. Let's pull out a couple of key things here. See where it says a range of complex texts and a variety of tasks? That's huge. It's telling us this isn't about just one type of reading. The goal is to give our students a flexible toolkit, a set of strategies they can pull out and use on any text for any reason. It's all about versatility. Okay, so that's the why. Now let's get into the what. I mean, what does this actually look like in practice for a student who's doing it? So here's the basic flow. Before reading, you're kind of warming up the engine, right? You preview the text, you get them thinking about what they already know, you make some predictions. Then, during reading, they're actively checking in with themselves. Does this make sense? Am I getting this? It's that whole thinking about your thinking thing. And finally, after reading, they bring it all home. They reflect on it, they summarize it, and they think about how to use what they just learned. And that whole before, during, after process, it's powered by these specific skills you see here. And these aren't just fuzzy ideas. They are actual, concrete things students can do. Things like setting a goal for their reading or knowing how to handle a word they don't recognize. Each one is a tool they can pull out of their toolbox to help them build meaning. Okay, so we know the why and the what. But here's the million-dollar question. How do we actually make this stuff happen in the classroom? How do we make it visible, a part of our daily routine? Well, that brings us to the how. It's time to build our toolkit. If we want these skills to stick, we need a set of repeatable tools, things we do over and over again. For instance, KW charts are fantastic for that before reading stage. Thinking maps are awesome for connecting ideas while they're reading. You've got BME charts, beginning, middle, end, for tracking what's happening, and you have got to love a good SWBST summary. Somebody wanted, but so then. It's just a killer formula for getting a quick, solid summary after they're done reading a story. And the list goes on. Timelines? Perfect for nonfiction. And I gotta say, I absolutely love using speech and thought bubbles. They take something kind of tricky, like making an inference, and make it totally concrete and fun. Even something as simple as teaching kids to look for words or pictures that repeat, what a great, simple way to get them thinking about why an author made those choices. All right, so we've got all these great tools. Now let's see what it looks like to pull them all together into one lesson. We're going to walk through a K2 example, and of course we're going to follow that before, during, and after structure. So here's our lesson plan in a nutshell. We're sticking to our three big phases, but we're attaching specific actions to each one. First, for before reading, we're going to focus on purpose, preview, and predict. For during reading, it's all about monitor, connect, and clarify. And for after reading, we'll hit reflect, summarize, and apply. Okay, let's dive into before reading. So you've got your book picked out. Your main job right now is just to get them curious. You can use prompts just like these to get them really looking at that cover and making some early guesses. The really important part here is the why. Always push for the why. Get them to explain their thinking right out of the gate. And this creates such a great little rhythm in the classroom. The teacher goes first, modeling their own thinking out loud while doing a book walk. Flipping through a few key pages without spoiling anything. Then it's the student's turn to process it all by turning to a partner and talking it out. It's that classic, super effective, I do it, now you do it loop. All right,
Now we're moving into the during reading phase, and I'm telling you, this next tool might be one of the most powerful things you can do. It's the think aloud. When you say your own thought process out loud, your questions, your connections, your aha moments, you're taking the invisible act of reading and making it totally visible for your students. You're showing them exactly what it sounds like inside a reader's head. So as you're reading, you'll want to pause at just the right moments to ask some questions. And you want a good mix. Ask some questions that get them to connect personally or to think about what the author is doing, but also throw in some questions just to make sure they're following the basic story. You know, who's who and what's happening. And last but not least, we hit the after reading phase. Just because you've read the last page doesn't mean the work is done. Now it's time to reflect and put all the pieces together. We can circle back and talk about why the story was so good. And then we can tackle summarizing it, which is such a key skill because it makes them decide what was really important. Okay, so we've covered the why, the what, and the how of this standard. So what are the big ideas you should really walk away with? Here are the 3 big takeaways. Number 1, comprehension happens in 3 phases: before, during, and after, always. Number 2, get yourself a toolkit of strategies and use them all the time. Make them routine. And number 3, the think aloud is your superpower. Model your own thinking. It's one of the best things you can do. And just so you know, all the great info and strategies we talked about today are based on the guidance documents from the Georgia Department of Education's ELA Standards of Excellence. So I'll leave you with this one final question to think about. Out of all these strategies we've discussed, which one are you going to commit to making a routine in your classroom? Maybe it's a KWL chart, maybe it's the think aloud, maybe it's that SWBST summary. Which one will you start with?